15 pounds every time I shave. So if I want to feel thin, I just shave, and then it's all better.
That's so good. Hey, well, everybody, welcome back to Talk Story Unscripted. We have, by popular demand, we have the guys from Heritvge again. We have Andrew Messenger and Matt Garcia. We started getting into this conversation. Oh, hi, everybody. And we have Doug, of course. Hi, Doug. So we were finished recording the first podcast, and then we started really getting into songwriting and the creative aspect of things. And Andrew, let's just jump to you. And you were talking about what happens and the mystery of it all. Can you recap with us what you were talking about off the show?
Right.
That's why we're here again.
Sure. So, I mean, in thinking about songwriting, there's a lot of sort of mystique and like mystery about like how it happens and how it works. I'd say for me, like just being a songwriter in the church and being a follower of God, His Spirit speaks to me, and in ways that I can't really explain. Like you can't really explain like the voice of God, and not saying that like God's speaking to me, in these songs, but there is this element of like something that's outside of myself. For instance, like last night, I was dreaming, and inside my dream, I heard this melody and heard this song. And so like I woke up and I had the melody in my head, and I recorded like the melody, and there was even like lyrics and everything. And so like I can't really explain to you like how that happened or like why that happens. But especially writing songs for the church, there's that element of like God speaking into into your mind, and then like I was saying before, like translating that into something musical and something having a base of music theory is really important, knowing because basically what happens is like I'll get an idea and I'll be able to translate that musically because of kind of the theory and the things that I know about music. I know which chords will go where, and kind of be able to like translate that melody and already kind of have an idea of what that will sound like.
How long does that process take you? Is it like, you hear it, you kind of hear it in your head, and then you try G, no, C, no, D, there it is. Like, is it, or do you just know it right away?
I think it's more of like I'm thinking in structure, like the kind of there's these like Nashville numbers is kind of like what we call it in music theory, but I already kind of know like, okay, there's like this is the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, 6 chord, and I kind of have a general idea of what that will look like. I don't know what key it might be in, but I either if I have like an acoustic guitar around or a piano or something like that, I'll kind of translate what's in my head and the structure that I hear, and then I'll kind of flesh that out. But before I even go to like an instrument, I already have like a good idea of the structure in my mind.
And that really explains something to me. I've had I've woken up or I had this dream that was, oh man, this is such a great song, great melody. And so I would wake up, and I remember this is one time I woke up, I wrote it down on the back of an envelope or something, and then I went back to sleep. I got up in the morning and I was excited. I can't wait to see these lyrics that I wrote down. And when I pulled them up, I go, what the heck is this? It was like no sense. It was gibberish. So right. And I don't have structure in that regard. But, Doug, you can relate to this in regards to filmmaking and editing. It's the same kind of process, really, when you think about it. You take something that was given to you, maybe somebody's story, and you look at it and you start thinking of structure, how you're going to take that and put it in its right place. And that's editing, right? And you start working with it, and it might work for a bit, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, that's not going to work. I'm going to swap some things around, and you experiment and you play around. Is that the same thing, would you say, Matt, when you're writing songs?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty much like that. You're taking content and you are filtering it through something like your ability, like in this case, music. So like Andrew was saying, the Nashville number system, or having an understanding of these melodies, or in your case, Doug, with like videos and stuff, like editing and the lighting, and you're taking content and you're filtering it through this to present something at the end.
Right.
So I guess a big thing for me is like, and we do this with Heritage all the time, is like the chords, like different chords, obviously they make different sounds and they give you different feelings. So like a G chord is like this really kind of like happy feeling chord. It's like this main, a lot of people, like I heard one of my music teachers call it like the dad chord. It's like dad. It's just this like home base kind of a chord kind of a thing.
I love that.
Yeah. Or it's like if you hit like a minor chord, like an E minor, it's almost a little like darker and kind of sad.
Wow.
Or if you go to like an A minor, which would be like the 2 chord in the key of G, it's even like a little more darker tone, like the sadder kind of a thing. So it's like you wouldn't start like, oh, happy day, and like with like an A minor chord, just be, because it's like a darker kind of a feel. So it's kind of that same mindset, not exactly, but kind of along those lines.
No, that's good. You guys are helping me to grasp it, because and then I don't want to jump totally off, but musically you're talking, and then the lyrics, you've written the lyrics, let's say for example, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. How does that translate into, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, how did that happen? Doug, how did that happen?
I'd have to ask Bono, but I'm not sure. Yeah, what his process is.
You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of a song that has a unique cadence. I could hum that song and you could tell me what it was. And a lot of people.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's it kind of becomes this like intuitive thing, where in an experiment thing, like where you'll sing a part or you have a melody and you'll play a chord, and it might work really well a certain way, or you might have to like work at it. And I think again, it's like kind of having a base knowledge of the measures and the beats, and having like a general idea of what the musical part of it.
Right.
And I think that kind of that goes for the for that. So
will a lot of times I mean cut you off. Will a lot of times the vocals, will they carry on the wings of the music, or does the music carry on the wings of the lyrics, or could be either way?
It could be like either way, kind of. I think at least for me, it kind of depends what comes first, whether it's the melody or the lyric. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like even the way like you're speaking, in the way when you talk to people,
right?
Like, why do we use like this phrasing that we use? It's really natural, and it's it is in alignment with what you're trying to express. Like if I was angry, I'd say something a lot more, harder, harsher. Or if I want to be really gentle, I'd say a lot more soft.
Yeah.
So there's a similar thing, but there's with music in the back. So it has its, they're both coexist like just perfectly, because you don't want to have like a big contrast.
Right.
I will say this, in songwriting, there's an ebb and flow, and just like anything, there's balance. So like I'm a graphic designer. So when like when you're designing something, you want to have balance. So you want to have something in this corner, that corner, that corner. You don't want one part to be super, super heavy and the other part to be like super light. And there's kind of this like, and it's probably with video editing, and it probably leaks into every, form of creativity. But in songwriting, it's like, I'm not going to have like da 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 da, and then just like that's the whole song. It has to be like da 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 da. It's just something that it's like fast followed by like room, and I think that that's kind of ingrained. If you think about songwriting, like you don't want the whole song to be like this, like super fast and then that's the whole song. It's
Right.
different maybe with different genres, but yeah, I find that it's like that ebb and flow of like
Yeah,
facts.
very cool.
Ebb and flow thing reminds me a lot about storytelling. Like
Mhm.
there is ebb and flow in storytelling. When you take somebody through a story, whether you're writing or whether you're showing or making a film, there are moments where there are peaks, but there are times where you have to mellow out and you have to let the audience rest a bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
What were you
Right.
going to say, Matt?
I was gonna say it's kind of like a conversation,
Yeah.
there's almost like a call and response kind of a thing.
Huh.
Even like this song that we were listening to, "Love on the Horizon," how it's like your love, and then this side's "Awaken me from my sleep, your love, na 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 na." It's like these two sides that are kind of
Mhm.
going back and forth, and it's like this
Interesting.
conversation kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So on the creative aspect, you guys have come together to create this band called Heritage, and there's 4 of you. Is that right, or is there 5?
4, yeah.
All right, so that's also part of the creative aspect. So you guys are bringing in different pieces into this unit called Heritage.
Right.
So, and that doesn't happen easily. You hear about
Right.
bands doing something and then they break up, and so describe that process to us. I mean, when you guys are working together, there's got to be talk about ebb and flow, right?
Mm.
I mean, who's the guy who wins and who's the guy who loses, or are there compromises? What happens? I mean, it's like a family, a relationship, right? And I still have not found a functional family yet. Most of the families are dysfunctional. So is Heritage functional, or what do you guys do when that process?
You were gonna need a total different podcast for this one, man.
Yeah. Let's just keep it going. Yeah.
No, I think it's funny you mention that, because on our first project, the Heritage first EP, that was 2017, we wrote it 14 through 16. All those years we were writing these music, and so there was a lot of growth there. Or we were a lot younger, and I think after that whole experience, coming this time around, we learned a lot from that whole experience of how to work with each other and the different dynamics of how do we do this with 4 different people, 4 different ideas, or 4 different personalities. How do we navigate this thing to be effective? And at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to produce something that'll encourage the church and glorify God. So that's our heartbeat, but some of us want to go at it from different angles, or so it's funny. Me, Andrew, and the rest of the guys, we kind of came up with this second time around. We kind of came up with the 3 H's of Heritage, just to make sure we're all on the same page, we all have the same heartbeat. And
What are they?
The first one, I'm just trying to remember. I forgot.
Honor is one of them. Yeah.
Honor. The first one
Humility.
is honor.
Yeah.
Honor. Okay.
Honor. So when it comes to 4 of us in a room, it's like honoring the person above yourself. So not saying that my ideas are like the best ones, or we have to do it this way.
See, Chuck?
It's just working with people. It's like I honor my brother, and I don't want to step all over him or say, "Hey, your ideas are terrible. Mine are so much cooler."
That's
Yeah,
great.
keeping an open mind.
Person.
Yep.
And honor. The second one was humility. Humility. There we go. There it is. We're getting it.
Good.
Humility. So it's like being humble with your bandmates, and kind of pretty similar to the honor them, but you just stay humble and don't think you're the best one. And if your ideas get like, hey, like, no, maybe that's not the best idea, that we don't get all upset
Right.
when what, you don't like my idea, or because it's as musicians, we're a lot more in touch with our emotions, I guess, one way to put it.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
okay.
easy to get offended. You're like, I worked so hard on this, and you're saying that's not good enough. So
I could totally relate to that.
yeah. So just being humble and being able to take healthy criticism, I guess.
That's really good.
Andrew, you want to take the last one?
Yeah, and I think the last one is like kind of relates to like the health of each one personally, but it's holiness, which is holiness. So, you know, as we approach this whole process, I think it's important especially if you're making music that's gospel centered, that's you know, honoring to God. You want to live your life in a way that represents him in every way, you know. And I think that he's a holy God. He's gracious, he's merciful, but he's also holy, and we want to be holy because he's holy. And I think that, you know, there's a certain kind of a requirement, I guess, as a burden that we feel as we're presenting these songs to the world and to our brothers and sisters, that we come from a place of purity, personal purity and collective purity, you know, that we're pursuing that. But what I would say about the creative process is that, you know, going back to being a graphic designer, I think it's helped me a lot because I work in a place that is very collaborative. And I think that at the very beginning, you know, in the first EP, I felt that I was pretty like clenched fisted with ideas, and kind of came at it at this like sort of like protective angle. And I just have learned, you know, through that other type of creative process in graphic design, that my idea becomes better actually when I let go, and when I accept criticism, when I accept other people's input. And the same goes for songwriting, you know. It can be this really personal expression. And there's some times where, like, you know, a song will be like I think this song is like something that I need to personally work on. And there's songs that you're like, I'm opening this up, I'm giving this up to everyone and allowing them to speak into it. But I think, yeah, this time around, we've established those things with 3 H's, and we've also become, there's like kind of this like unsaid like agreement, you know, that we're kind of in this together. And whatever I bring to the table, I'm not clenched fist. I'm not, you know, working on things on my own. It's like we have an agreement. We've communicated that this is something that's together and not just like my thing.
Right.
And, you know, so.
Dude, that's so good. And I can relate to that on so many levels you don't even know. And I really appreciate you sharing that. You know, and when you talk about the living a life of purity and honor, you know, because what you're putting out, you know, as a whole, your life living honorably to the Lord because you're putting things out. And also just in the moment, if you're not in a good place, I can just speak for myself. If I've just had an argument with my wife and I'm mad about this, that, or the other, and I go to start putting a video together, I know it's like almost like God will stop me and be like, you're not in a place to be putting stuff out. Yeah. And because, you know, it's almost like out of the abundance of the heart, Doug edits. Yeah. And the song is written. And that also kind of scares me at the same time, because you think about all the music and all the movie content that's not godly. Where are these people coming from?
Yeah. Right.
What songs are they hearing in the night?
Yeah.
Wow. You know, what place are they writing from? Music, movies, and that's something for us to be conscious of for ourselves and for our families, of what we take in, where they're coming from.
Yeah. I think there's, you know, obviously we have those days, those good and bad days, but, you know, it's so cool that, you know, in our weakness that he is made strong.
Right.
You know, that we could bring something that has had issues and stuff, but God could take that and grow it into something beautiful despite our issues.
Yeah.
You know, but also how much greater could that thing be used if we had the right heart and did it the right mindset. So
it sounds like you guys have, you know, it sounds like you guys have really gone through a time of growth and navigating through some of this stuff and you know, dealing with the creativity and also dealing with doing the reason why you're doing these things, you know, your motives are right. So it sounds like maybe you guys know what the holiness chord is. Have you worked it out yet? what is the holiness chord? It can't be G because that's a dad chord. Like G suspended 7/9 to the 8th chord.
It's the
Letter
Jesus
Jesus.
Jesus is the holiest word. That's the joke. I love it.
Dude, you know what? You bring up a really good point, Pete, and it's goofy. I've heard of that stuff before, but I don't know. Fundamentally, the sounds, right? Bing, bong, bing. Like, that's just vibrating chords that are, right? They're just going really fast. And then that sound, it makes you feel a certain way. That is just wild to me.
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
That's a bad thing. That's a thing I don't think we'll ever be able to work out. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
hey, so I'm going to move around on my computer screen, but I just want you guys to keep talking. I got a technical difficulty. I'll explain it later. But what I want you guys to do, we're coming to the end of this podcast. Can you guys share a bit? What are you doing during this pandemic to help keep you in that creative mode? Give us some secrets. What are you guys doing individually? We'll start with you, Andrew.
Man, that's a good question. I think something that I think is really important is kind of the obvious things. Just maintain a routine. Wake up in the morning, try to read, try to acquaint yourself with and connect yourself with Jesus, with the Holy Spirit, and something practical. I think that helps me even not in the pandemic to be just creative is actually just to get out and walk and just stimulate your body, kind of like wake your body up a little bit, and just to walk and to pray and to get connected to the source, because without the source there's no creativity flowing in me, and all of my good ideas are his ideas. So I think the best thing is just to keep a good consistent rhythm of life, and go outside, walk. And also I think creativity sparks other types of creativity. So do something that's not music related or not songwriting related, but that's creative. Fortunate enough to, again, be a graphic designer, so I'm doing that creative, that thing that's creative, and that kind of helps me to offset that like kind of creative zone, and then it sparks that other part in me that wants to be creative.
That's good.
So I think that's.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
Have you guys coming to certain places, for instance, I don't know, Hawaii, spark unique creative things for you? Like, first of all, have you guys been to Hawaii? I know you have. You both have been to Hawaii. We talked about this, Sunset Fest.
Yeah.
When you're here in Hawaii, does it spark different things for you creatively?
Yeah, I would say, man, Hawaii is a beautiful, you guys know, it's beautiful. The sunsets, the sunrises, and the nature around is just incredible. So, but the thing is that it comes down to yourself as a person being aware and being with your eyes open and seeing these things. Because it's very easy, like we know, you could walk through a beautiful place, but if you're not thinking about it, if you're not processing it, like it's not really doing you much good. So I think just being really aware, like Andrew was saying, just being aware of like the presence of God. The Bible says that Jesus will never leave us, he'll never forsake us, that we have his spirit within us. Then, man, God is here and he wants to do something. Lord, what are you trying to show me here? So even like Hawaii, you're walking down, you're seeing these beautiful things. Wow, like God, it's such an awesome thing that you would create this for us to enjoy,
right?
And to see your beauty. So yeah, I think but it comes down to you, because some people are there and they don't even realize that.
Yeah.
So just being.
My wife says that too. Sorry, Matt. My wife says that too. That one of her favorite phrases is to be in the moment. And we're living in a society so much that we're so pulled every which way, especially with social media. And lots of times we're looking at other people's lives. And again, I like what my wife says, you know, you're looking at the best of their life, you know, and we're all just kind of showing off. Hey, look what I got to do, or look at this, look where I am, and that type of thing. And we're missing where we are. And, you know, Hawaii is beautiful, absolutely. But no matter where you are, God wants to speak to you. Like you're saying, Andrew, you're on a walk or whatever, you know, God wants to minister to you. And I found that you have to be intentional, like you're saying, Matt. Be intentional and pay attention, because God does want to speak to you. You know, he does. You know, even when I go to a Bible study or a gathering, it's like, okay, Lord, I'm expecting something from you. I'm expecting. I want to see what you have for me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
That's so good, man. Andrew, on the Hawaii side, what creative things have you gleaned from being in Hawaii?
Gosh, you know, I remember being there and just kind of, you know, going out on the beaches and just breathing in the air. And I mean, I think that it's definitely a special place when it comes to like the surroundings and and just like the beauty of it. And I think that wherever you're at, Hawaii, California, I think that, like Matt's saying, it's important to just because you could see all this beautiful stuff and completely miss what God's saying to you. You know, you could look outside and you're like, oh, it's such a beautiful, bright day, and like, oh, these beaches are awesome. But God didn't create these things just to be beautiful in and of themselves. He created them so that we can experience them with Him. And you know, He says that it's good. He says that we're good because He created us. And so, yeah, I think that Hawaii definitely speaks to that place of that created place in me.
Right.
I think what I would just say is like, I just think when I was there, I just tried to connect vertically as much as possible, because I was seeing a lot of things horizontally that were beautiful.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to look out at the horizon and see all these beautiful things without connecting vertically. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember my wife and I got engaged on Keiki Beach. This was years ago, and I remember because Pete was there. Pete filmed the whole thing and everything.
Cool.
And it was incredible. Like, you walk out there and the sunset was happening, and it's just gorgeous. So Hawaii has a special place in my heart, because I have a lot of family there, and Pete and these guys, we love these guys. But also my wife and I got engaged over there.
Right.
So when I think of even between my wife and I, it's like, wow, this is a place that's so special to us because we were both there, we experienced it together. Yeah. So when I think of us, Hawaii has a really special place in our hearts.
This has been awesome. I have so much that I've gleaned from what you've shared, not just, you know, learning about music, because I find that so fascinating, but also your creative process and your collaborative process. I love your 3 H's. Those are great, man. Honor, humility, and holiness. Boy, you wrap those up, and you're doing pretty good. You know, maintaining that. So thank you guys for being on with us today, and God bless you and your music. Love your music, and looking forward to hearing more of it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It was awesome.
And say hello to your dads for me.
Yes.
Will do.
All right. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
God bless again.
Aloha.